Okay, so we left off here in the morning class, and I just wanted to do a quick rundown of the last two slides that we didn't get to, so it should only be a minute or two long. And so we were talking about an original source or a primary source, and it's an original record or document artifact or something that was produced by someone who lived during the time that they're writing about. So it's something that happened as the event was occurring. So an example could be a newspaper article that described 9/11 as it was occurring, right? So it happened at that time. It was an experience that that person had, and they were able to write about it. Why are journals so valuable? They give firsthand accounts of actual events that happened. They are considered a primary source. They take the reader back to the time when that person was experiencing it, and they give a viewpoint that would not otherwise be known, kind of the insider details. And so in one of the classes, we were talking about how another example of a journal that gives you insider detail would be the Diary of Anne Frank, right? She was able to explain her experiences in her journal in a way that we are able to look back and read it now and experience that with her as she was going through it. In here in the green box, after some deliberation had amongst themselves and with the master of the ship, they tacked about and resolved to stand for the southward, to find some place about Hudson's River for their habitation. But after they had sailed that course about half the day, they fell amongst dangerous shoals and roaring breakers, and they were so far entangled therewith that they conceived themselves in great danger. And the wind shrinking upon them withal, they resolved to bear up again for the Cape. So why is this account valuable? What insider details do we learn about the experience from this entry? So it's insider details are things that might have been lost because it didn't hold final consequence. So it didn't lead to the final consequence. There were details along the way rather than just saying, oh, we started here and we ended here. It's giving us those details that occurred and let us understand why they ended up where they did. Bradford's account also gives information that would be lost to readers later on, right? So it helps us understand the fatigue, the frustration, the dangers that they were going through. It lets us see everything that was occurring in day by day below, rather than just, again, we left England, we ended up over here. There's a lot of details in between that he helps us see and experience. Is it going to go? No. Okay, there we go. So some main ideas when you're reading the Bradfords, but also all of the other early American writers in this unit, you consider all of the different examples that they are talking about for piety, courage, and industry. So looking at the Puritan work ethic here, so you have industry. They were hardworking. They were farming crops. They were hunting animals. They literally had to build towns and infrastructure, roads to be able to distribute the food, to be able to give the food, the crops, the stores, all of the different products. They had to build everything from the ground up because there was nothing. So that's their hardworking. Storing food for the winters because it's going to be harsh winters. Piety, religious devotion, God's protection, sense of community. So it was the central thing that brought their community together. It was the one thing that they all agreed on, that God was the center of their life. So piety was a big part of their sense of community, a sense of belonging. Courage, encountering unfamiliar people, because they never had met the Native Americans quite yet. So they, not all Native Americans are the most welcoming people, and so it was a dangerous situation. They were also isolated. They were cut off from the rest of the civilized world, so they weren't able to really, they couldn't just message England and ask for help because they were being persecuted there. They weren't exactly feeling the love there, and they couldn't just hop on a plane and fly over the next day to help them out, right? So they were isolated from the rest of the world, from anyone that could help them. They had to survive on their own. They had to be courageous and brave. And then they also had to survive the harsh weather that they weren't necessarily used to. Journals have objective value because they preserve unique facts and happenings. They're subjective because they have the perspective of the person that wrote it. And so you're able to see their personal side of it. Bradford's journals have facts as well. It describes what the Pilgrims did, saw, and experienced, but it also talks about how they felt. So it's a unique journal where it doesn't just talk about the emotions. It also has the facts listed out for people. And one of the main feelings that you get from his writings is that they felt uncertainty. It was definitely, they weren't 100% sure what was going to happen in their new world because no one had really done it yet. All right, and that should be it for today. I will leave you with this right here just as a reminder, so you should be ready to talk about a model of Christian charity tomorrow, covering it. If you haven't read 1.03 yet, you should be reading 1.03 and then going into 1.04 for tomorrow. If you have any questions, let us know and email your teacher. If not, we'll see you in class tomorrow. Have a good day.